Hello and good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Strictly Sports. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good alum F. Michael Fletcher. We are awaiting perhaps the presence of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him back with us tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. But for right now, um, not really much to this show this evening. I mean, all it's really going to be is hot stove transactions from the world of the NFL and from Major League Baseball. Um, it's going to be a bit of a slow. We're going to be in a little bit of a rut here, a brief little rut going forward here, because who knows what we're going to have next week if we even have anything at all, because of what's been going on. But we definitely have some exciting things in the works, but we'll get into that, near the end. But for right now, um, we got to start with the breaking news story that came out today that was reported by our own good old MF Michael Fletcher as part of our Strictly Sports Messenger chat in the Messenger. And, well, what a bomb indeed. And I'm glad this came out today because it gives us a little something to get into here. As you know, recently Phillip Rivers was the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts this past season, and he recently announced his retirement, and that left the Colts wondering who's going to replace him. Who can we get to replace him? Well, as of today, they have their man, Carson Wentz. Yes, Carson Wentz. The Philadelphia Eagles have agreed to trade quarterback Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts for a 2021 third-round draft pick and a conditional 2022 second-round pick that could turn into a first-rounder, league sources told ESPN. The Eagles will receive the 85th overall pick in this year's draft, and the conditional second-rounder can become a first-round pick based on Wentz's playing time, according to sources. Wentz needs to play at least 75% of the Colts' offensive snaps for the 2022 conditional pick to convey to a first rounder, according to sources. The pick the pick also could become a first rounder if Wentz plays at least 70% of the snaps and the Colts make the playoffs. But the worst the 2022 pick can be is a second rounder, meaning the Eagles are assured of netting two value picks for Wentz. The Eagles and Colts spent much of the past 2 weeks trying to finalize the trade, which cannot be officially processed until the new NFL year begins March 17th. Despite being speculated as a potential suitor for Wentz in trade talks, the Chicago Bears did not wind up making an offer to the Eagles, according to a source. The Eagles will take a $33.8 million dead cap hit, the largest dead cap hit that any team ever has taken for a player, while the Colts will assume the balance of Wentz's $128 million extension, including the $10 million guaranteed roster bonus due March 19th. So there you have it. Those are the schematics. Now the thoughts. Each team walks away from the deal with what it wanted across all fronts. Carson Wentz will be reunited with Colts head coach Frank Reich, his former offensive coordinator in Philadelphia, and help fill the void left by Phillip Rivers' retirement, while the Eagles are likely to turn to Jalen Hurts, though they also intend to bring in competition for him. The Eagles' starting job is not expected to automatically go to Hurts. Trading Wentz marks the end of an unexpected chapter and year with the Eagles. Wentz went from a former MVP candidate to backing up Hurts, a rookie second-round pick in 2020, while his relationship with former Eagles head coach Doug Peterson disintegrated. Wentz wanted out of Philadelphia, even though the Eagles hired former Colts offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni as their new head coach. Reich, who has been Indy's head coach for the past 3 years, was Philly's offensive coordinator for Wentz's first 2 years in the NFL in 2016 and 17. With Reich at the helm, Wentz will take the reins of a Colt attack that ranked 10th in the NFL in total offense and 9th in scoring last season. And other news when it comes to Indy, 4-time Pro Bowl receiver T.Y. Hilton, unrestricted free agent, and his future with the Colts is uncertain. But Indy will enter free agency and the 2021 draft with a diverse offense featuring running back Jonathan Taylor, who was the NFL's third leading rusher as a rookie with 1,169 yards last season. Thursday's blockbuster trade also continues an already tumultuous offseason for quarterbacks. Less than 3 weeks after the Rams traded Jared Goff, who was the number 1 overall pick of 2016, to the Lions for fellow quarterback Matthew Stafford, the Eagles now have traded the number 2 overall pick of the same draft to the Colts. The Eagles signed Wentz to a 4-year, $128 million extension in June 2019, signaling their belief that he was the long-term answer at quarterback. But as we all know, the relationship soured during a rocky 2020 season, during which Wentz ranked 34th in the NFL in completion percentage at 57.4%, and first in interceptions 15, and sacks 50, despite being benched in favor of Hurts for Philly's final 4 games. Wentz appeared to be on a trajectory towards stardom in Philly after throwing 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 2017, while making a hard charge for the MVP before tearing multiple knee ligaments that December. He developed a stress fracture in his back the following year, but managed to toss 48 touchdowns to 14 interceptions over the next 2 years. And a lot of drama coming out, with Wentz and Peterson and the whole 9 yards. And you know what? I love this move for Indy. I mean, Carson Wentz, one of only 6 quarterbacks in NFL history to record 20-plus passing touchdowns and 10 or fewer interceptions in 3 straight years, joining very elite company: Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. It's a damn good list. And named first-team All-Pro and made his lone Pro Bowl appearance in 2017. Wentz leaves Philly despite owning the franchise single-season record for completions, 388, completion percentage, 69.6, passing yards, 4,039, and passing touchdowns, 33. Great pickup for Indy. I mean, I know he hasn't really done much over the last couple of years. I know it's been up and down, but if he can stay healthy, and if we can get that, and if Indy gets the 2017 Carson Wentz that we saw in Philly, which, set the tone for Philly going on to win the Super Bowl that year, Indy could be that big threat in the AFC once again. Because this past year was the best Colt team I've seen in a very long time. Or then again, we've seen in a very long time. I mean, we haven't had good Colt teams. They had some rough couple of years, but this past year was a great year for them, despite losing to my Buffalo Bills in the Super Wild Card round last month. And I think he can be the answer in Indy. I mean, will it lead to long-term success right away? I don't know. I really don't. Because as we all know in the AFC, when it comes to the pecking order in the AFC, Kansas City is still the tribal chief, if you will. But nipping at the heels right behind who I believe is the second best team in the AFC, that's my Buffalo Bills. And then from there, I mean, you got Baltimore, you got Cleveland, who I think we need to start taking seriously. Pittsburgh, of course, they're going to be in there. Tennessee, obviously. And a couple of sleeper teams, MF's Dolphins and the Vegas Raiders. So it's going to be a loaded AFC. So we'll find out what happens. We'll see what happens come September when we start this all again. But for right now, I definitely like this move for Indy, and we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if it's going to lead to long-term success right away, but maybe they could have another good year like they did this past year. So not much more to say. I'm going to give it to the man who broke this story in our messenger chat. That would be good old MF Michael Fletcher. So, MF, you found this story. What went through your mind when you saw this?
Well, it was a really interesting dynamic when it broke out. when we first, you heard the rumors that that basically it looked like that a trade was going to happen. They said that a trade was imminent. We knew that there was a few teams out there that we were looking at. Like you said, Chicago is definitely in the mix. So was Indianapolis. And I'm going to be real honest with you. There was a few teams out there that did not want Indy to be the team. There was a few people, some Colt fans out there didn't want Carson Wentz. Even Pat McAfee, even though he likes Carson Wentz, thinks he's a great guy, he is very loyal to the Indianapolis Colts, and he honestly open criticized, thought, was this the right decision? McAfee has voiced it very clearly. He feels like Carson Wentz is not the right guy for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, unfortunately, for Pat, the Colts has made the decision, and Carson Wentz is now their guy. So we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. This is going to be very interesting to watch, to say the very least. And at the end of the day, it could go any way. The decision was made. The decision is clear. It is finalized. And this is their decision. This is the guy that they want. They gave up. It was kind of a modest deal that they did. Of course, I know if you're Philly, you were looking for first-round draft picks. So the way it's structured, I mean, Philly could still get a first-rounder from Indianapolis, but the problem is Indy was so good last year that a first-round draft pick for them is going to be like a mid-round card. So you don't know if it's going to be a monster deal, if it's a monster whatever. At the end of the day, it could go many ways how this could go. I am a little trepidatious about Carson Wentz. The injury is more my concern for Carson, and I will openly admit that. I think he is a fine player, but he has not lived up since he blew out those the ACL and the MCL, when he blew the knee out in that game against, I think it was against the Rams in LA, that ended his season. Even though Philadelphia went on to win the Super Bowl that year, but he was really never the same. And then you started to hear that he was a locker room problem, that, he started, that's what really got him in trouble. He literally divided the locker room. And I think that's another thing that Pat McAfee is a little concerned about, is that if this guy starts to get into a prima donna mode, a la a Ryan Leaf, that this could actually be a bad situation for Indy, that, yes, Anthony, you even said it. Maybe Indy can reverse and continue their trajectory. They made it to the playoffs. Many people think that Buffalo kind of got lucky that they got by Indianapolis, because if you really think about it, Indy had them kind of dead to rights, and they almost knocked them out in the first round of in the Super Wild Card weekend. A couple of bonehead plays by Phillip Rivers, and maybe a controversial call that went Buffalo's way. Maybe we talk about Indianapolis knocking out Buffalo, and Buffalo would not have made the run that they did. So you had that going on. Now you got the concern about, hopefully he turns into that MVP-like candidate, Carson Wentz, but you really don't know what you're going to get. So there's a little bit of trepidation, to say the very least. It seems like for Philly, they just wanted to get rid of it. Get out of the contract, get him out of there. So for Philly, they won this trade as of now. We'll see how Carson plays on the field. That's going to be the big tell of who ultimately won this trade. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, like you basically said. I mean, to me, I mean, as of right now, I mean, because we don't know what kind of a Carson Wentz that Indy is getting. Hopefully, under now being reunited with Frank Reich in Indianapolis, maybe could turn him around. But yeah, if he's going to be that prima donna that he was in Philadelphia, Philadelphia is going to be like, hey, we're glad that we made this deal. And like you said, he hasn't been the same since he tore his ACL and MCL when it looked like he was the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. And then that happened, and he hasn't been the same since then. So, maybe a change of scenery will get him back to the MVP that he was in 2017. Now that he is with Frank Reich, but only time will tell. But yeah, I mean, and it's not, and we don't know for sure if Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter. I mean, we can assume it, but don't be surprised if Philadelphia brings some guys in to challenge him. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how everything goes. But as of right now, I would say Philadelphia won this trade, but that can all change if Carson Wentz gets back to that MVP form that we saw before he, like you said, before he tore his knee up. So there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
All right. Now we're gonna get into the story that I was originally going to lead this show off with, but got pushed back because of the big breaking story from today. We're gonna get into J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt was released last week by the Houston Texans, and simply said he wants to compete for championships near the end of his career, and this was not the team's decision; it was his decision. He asked for his release, and the Texans granted the request. And he said, "I have sat down with the McNair family, and I have asked them for my release, and we have mutually agreed to part ways at this time. I'm excited and looking forward to a new opportunity." Watt will become a free agent, and even at 31, should still be in demand by teams seeking a pass rusher. After making the playoffs in 4 or 5 years, the Texans collapsed to 4-12 this past year, and Watt has expressed a desire to play for a contending team in the twilight of his career. Okay, so MF, J.J. Watt on the free agent market. Business has certainly picked up, especially for whoever gets him.
Oh, yeah, and there's a lot of teams right now that are looking for a pass rusher. And I'm going to openly admit this, and I'm going to really say this. I think right now, I've heard a lot of teams. I've heard Green Bay. I've heard Cleveland. I've heard Buffalo. I've heard, like I said, a few teams that could get JJ. Even though, and one thing I heard was, why doesn't he team up with his brother TJ and be with Pittsburgh? It doesn't look like he wants to do that. It doesn't look like he wants to pair up with his brother and have the Watt brothers in Pitt, which is shocking. But that's the way it's going. Right now, I got to say the favorite's actually Cleveland. Of all teams, the Cleveland Browns might land J.J. Watt. And if they do, I'm going to openly admit this, Cleveland might have a chance. Now, I'm not going to say that they're the favorites for the AFC because obviously, you still got Kansas City, you got Buffalo, you got a lot of teams out there in the AFC, and Anthony, you alluded to it when we were talking about Carson Wentz. But if J.J. Watt teams up with Myles Garrett and teams up with that defense of the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland has a contender, a major threat that could possibly not just win the division, but could be a top 3 team in the AFC. I've also heard Buffalo is a possibility. Now, if Buffalo gets them, that might be the final piece of the puzzle that Buffalo might need that could put them over the top and get them to the Super Bowl. Not only get there, but possibly win it all. The long-suffering nightmare, Anthony, could possibly be over if Watt lands in Buffalo. I personally believe it. Because he's still a dynamic player. The one thing that you got to worry about with J.J. Watt is there is a lot of injury concerns. Injuries has derailed this man's career from what could be a Hall of Fame career to just a very good, great player. Watt's been dominating. Watt's been amazing. Watt's has been everything. But the injuries has derailed him year in and year out, and it derailed him again this year. He wasn't fully healthy all year long. He was hurt along the way. That's why they kind of went into a little bit of a nosedive. But there was also, the thing was with the McNair family, with the Houston Texans, they're a complete and utter mess. They're looking for a redo to redo everything. And in hindsight, if you really think about it, they lost their first-round draft pick to the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins got the number 3 overall pick coming up in this year's draft because of the Laramie Tunsil trade. They wanted an offensive lineman. Miami was unable to keep Laramie Tunsil, even though we should have kept him in my mind. We should have kept him, but the money was going to be way too much and too much of a risk for us to make a deal that we decided, you know what? We got to get rid of him. Let's take it to Houston. And in hindsight, we nabbed their number 1 overall pick. We nabbed their first-round draft pick that ended up being number 3 overall. Thank you. So, at the end of the day, we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. But, man alive. The sweepstakes is on. And like I said, if he goes to the AFC, if it's one of the teams that is a playoff contender, a team that is, like I said, a one player away from making the Super Bowl, those are the teams you're going to see jump. That is, again, if it's Kansas City, and I know I heard Kansas City getting thrown out, I don't think it's going to be Kansas City. They don't got the money. They need to re-sign a whole bunch of other players. Their core is going to get blown up a little bit. So they're going to lose some players along the way. Buffalo is in a really good spot. They're going to lose maybe a couple of players here and there. Not a big loss if they get them. But if they get Watt, they're a Super Bowl contender. They're instantly a Super Bowl contender. If it's Cleveland, with the offense that they already have, if they start focusing on the defense, they could be a Super Bowl contender. So you got 3 teams already you're keeping a close eye on. And, of course, let's go to the NFC side. Green Bay is the number 1 team that I'm looking at that could possibly land him. If you want any team that I think he could land, the Green Bay Packers would be that team. Obviously, they need to revamp the offense a little bit, put a little bit of some extra bodies, get some wide receivers to surround Aaron Rodgers. If they get J.J. Watt, he's going to be the anchor of that defense. Put a couple of more pieces around him, they're a Super Bowl contender. This is going to be very interesting to watch, and we're going to monitor this as long as we can. So, nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, and of course, when it comes to Houston, I mean, what an absolute train wreck they become. I mean, starting with Deshaun Watson wanting to be traded, and then now with J.J. Watt being released, and wanting to go to a contender. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely going to be it's going to be a rebuild, a do-over mode for this team. Now, for J.J. Watt, I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, we've heard a lot of different teams express interest in him. But to me, as of right now, I mean, I think Cleveland's got to be the favorite because, I mean, I think I've heard about him talking about Cleveland, and yeah, you pair him with Myles Garrett and that defense, my oh my, I mean, that they become a legitimate contender because remember, Cleveland had a chance to dethrone Kansas City in the divisional round. So you add this, it could they could take another step forward in there. I mean, getting back to the playoffs, maybe going even further. But man, I mean, but if he goes to Buffalo, and if I know Anthony Florio, he's probably salivating at the of getting J.J. Watt, probably saying, "Please come to Buffalo. You come here, we're a Super Bowl contender, and we could definitely challenge Kansas City, maybe even have a chance to overtake them." But yeah, we definitely gotta wait and see. But yeah, there's really nothing more for me to add to it. So, Florio, I know you're salivating at the chance of J.J. Watt coming to the Buffalo Bills.
You better believe it, man. You better believe it. I mean, if that happens, that could be the missing piece. That could get my team over the hump and get them to the Super Bowl for the first time in almost 30 years. I mean, man, coming off the best season we've had in forever. I mean, yeah, I'm still very grateful for that, no doubt about it. And I'm going to continue to think about that until we get to the next season. So, anywho, I just came across some interesting news from the NBA, gentlemen, and I'm going to save that for the main event because it's huge. That's all I'm going to say, and it's something that's going to make all of us very happy. Don't spoil it. I'm gonna get into that. I'm going to save that for the end. But for right now, when will J.J. Watt sign with his new team? It's just one of the questions NFL clubs are asking about the three-time Defensive Player of the Year. Watt, who was granted his release last week by the Houston Texans, is a free agent for the first time in his career. He said in his own words, it's wild. He's trying to find his best possible landing spot, but teams are wondering what that exactly means. It seems there are 4 potential suitors for Watt: Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Buffalo. If he signs with the team by this weekend, it could be the Browns or the Bills. If it gets past early next week, the Packers and Steelers may be working some cap magic. And if it goes all the way to mid-March, he'll be looking at a team outside of this quartet where he hoped to get a bigger payday. Does he want to play with his brothers above all else? If so, no one outside Pittsburgh need apply. Does he want to win a championship? Yeah, he does. Who doesn't? The Packers, Bills, and Browns are all contenders to varying degrees for a ring. He's a former Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner, so no one is questioning his character or values. But how will he find his role in a locker room that he hasn't dominated for the last decade as his play has slowly, though, perceptibly declined? That's a question some teams are wondering. Personnel folks across multiple teams have said the last few days they believe Watt, who will be 32 this season, still has gas in the tank. Because of that, and because perception matters, what contract offer will he be willing to take? The 2-year, $25 million deal Calais Campbell signed with Baltimore last year would seemingly be the starting place for Watt, who was released when no NFL team was going to have him play at his 2021 cap of $17.5 million. Whether the deal structure is a facsimile of Campbell's or more reflective of the current cap issues across the league will have to be determined. But I believe the Bills and Browns are best suited to sign Watt now. In fact, there's no better team suited to ink Watt today than the Cleveland Browns. The Browns will have somewhere between $25 to $30 million in cap space, with a need for a pass rusher opposite Myles Garrett, like Bullock mentioned. If Watt wants the best combination of money, championship contention, and pass rush opportunities, Cleveland has it. Buffalo wouldn't be far behind. The Bills wouldn't be able to offer as good a deal as Cleveland, and they don't have a pass rusher like Garrett to pair Watt with. But they were within a game of the Super Bowl this past year, folks. Watt has every right to take his time and soak up free agency, but teams are putting their plans together now for 2021. And I'm not confident Watt's best deal will still be available in a couple weeks. That's why sources have indicated that if this stretches into another week, he and a team like the Packers or Steelers that is up against the cap may be working on contract gymnastics. And if this creeps near March 15, when teams can begin legally tampering, it should be assumed that none of these 4 teams will land Watt and that he may have opted for another. These are questions only Watt himself can answer. And I believe when he signs, will say as much about his priorities as where he signs. So would I want him in Buffalo? Absolutely. He could be the heart and soul of that defense. But we'll wait and see. I mean, if Buffalo gets him, oh my gosh, that's a mark out moment for me. I mean, I'm still marked. Like I said, I'm still marking out after the unbelievable year that my team had. I mean, I'm still on cloud 9, even though it didn't end the way I wanted it to, obviously. I'm still on cloud 9, man. I mean, I still can't, not a day has gone by that I haven't thought about the year that my team had going all the way to the AFC Championship game. I still can't fathom that they were in the AFC title game this year. What a thrill that was. What a thrill that was. And I hope and pray they can get back there again next year. I mean, hopefully if they do, hopefully this time they win it. But I would love to see it in Buffalo. That's really where I want to see it. But story for another day. But for right now, those were the 2 big stories when it comes to the NFL hot stove. Let's get into the Major League Baseball hot stove. And since Michael Bullock is going to be leading off on this next deal, I'd like to get him. I like to start this next story with him because it concerns his team, obviously, the Boston Red Sox. This was reported last week. I found it on a Facebook post from our dear friend Ryan Abedizian. He's the one who found this story, and I give credit to him. Definitely appreciate that. And well, here you go. Andrew Benintendi, a cornerstone on the 2018 World Series champion Red Sox, has been dealt to the Kansas City Royals as part of a 3-team trade that also includes the New York Mets. Boston received outfielder Franchi Cordero and 2 players to be named later from Kansas City, and right-hander Josh Winkowski, and a player to be named later from the Mets. Outfielder Khalil Lee, who was the Royals' number 8 prospect per MLB Pipeline, was dealt to the Mets. So there's the story. Like I said, Michael Bullock, I wanted to start off with you here because this has to do very much with your team, the Red Sox. What do you make of all this? One of your cornerstones, Andrew Benintendi, traded to KC in that three-team trade with the Royals and the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely one of the cornerstones of that 2018 team that won the World Series and won over 100 games. So yeah, I mean, at the beginning of his career, he was showing that promise, but in 2019 and then even last year, I mean, the offense has gone down. I mean, the strikeouts have gone up, and the injuries just basically started to pile up. And I think it was at the point that the Red Sox needed to do something, and they obviously traded him away and yeah, get some young uh, some young minor leaguers, and it's also all about trying to rebuild that the farm system with with their minor league clubs. So yeah, I mean it stinks, but to me it was something that had to be done. I wish Andrew Benintendi nothing but the best with the Kansas City Royals, but yeah, it's just like I said, it had to be done because he just hasn't been the same guy the last couple of years. So that's pretty much all I can say on it. So Florio, it is yours.
Yeah. Under Chief Baseball Officer Chain Bloom, the Red Sox have been driven to add young, cost-controllable players while also improving the depth of their farm system. In this deal, Bloom says he was able to do both and thanked Benintendi for his performance. He said, I think in many ways the accomplishments of homegrown players are the most special to organizations, and Andrew is a great example of that. There are so many people who played a role in bringing him into the organization, helping him become who he became, and supporting him along the way. Obviously, Andrew deserves the most credit for what he accomplished, but for all of those people, there's a ton to be proud of. Bloom indicated that Cordero, once a promising power prospect for the Padres, who was set back by injuries, then traded to the Royals last July, will get every chance to earn a prominent spot in the Boston outfield. Alex Verdugo and Hunter Renfroe are other two projected starters in the outfield for manager Alex Cora. JD Martinez can play the outfield at times, but the club prefers him to be the primary DH. Bloom minimized any correlation between the trade of Benintendi and the chance of re-signing free agent center fielder Jackie Bradley Jr., who has played his entire career in Boston. He said, as far as the competition of our roster, you can look at it very similarly with a very different profile of player in Cordero, but still someone who fits a similar niche on the club. We remain hopeful that we'll be able to find a fit with Jackie, and we also recognize that may not happen. We're going to stay engaged there and see how that plays out. But the two were somewhat separate for us as we looked at this because the fit with Cordero was so clean in terms of how we put our roster together. Benintendi is set to earn $6.6 million this season and has one more year of arbitration eligibility in 2022. The Red Sox will send $2.8 million to the Royals to help cover his 21 salary. The Red Sox will have Cordero under control through 23. Benintendi, who was promoted to the Red Sox during an AL pennant race 14 months after he was the number 7 overall pick in the 2015 MLB draft, first surfaced in trade rumors a month ago. The trade of the 26-year-old left fielder continues a reshaping of Boston's roster that has occurred steadily since Bloom was hired to run the front office following the 2019 season. A year ago, the Sox dealt superstar outfielder Mookie Betts and veteran lefty David Price to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Verdugo, shortstop Jeter Downs, and catching prospect Connor Wong. After finishing second in AL Rookie of the Year award voting in 2017, Benintendi had his best overall season in 2018, slashing 290, 366, 465 with 16 homers and 87 RBI and 21 steals. Also made a game-ending catch in Game 4 of the ALCS at Houston to give Boston a commanding 3-1 lead in the series. And Benintendi also made a memorable and majestic leaping catch to rob the Dodgers' Brian Dozier of extra bases in Game 2 of that World Series. But Benintendi declined in 2019, 266, 343, and 431, and opened the shortened 2020 season in a 4-for-39 slump before being shut down for the remainder of the year with a right rib injury. Aside from his slippage on offense, highlight reel defensive plays were less frequent the past 2 years. And Cordero, who hails from the Dominican Republic, could get a chance to earn a starting or platoon job during spring training, but he has only 284 at-bats in the majors. In 2020, the left-handed hitting Cordero hit 211 with 2 homers and 38 at-bats. His most encouraging display in MLB thus far took place in 2018, when he belted 7 homers and 139 at-bats for San Diego. And the 22-year-old Winkowski was selected by Toronto in the 15th round of the 2016 draft, and he stayed with them until 2 weeks ago when he was a part of the package the Mets acquired for lefty Steven Matz, and is now Boston's number 30 prospect per the MLB pipeline. In the majors, or I should say in the minors, in 54 games, he was 18-17 with a 3.35 ERA, 86 walks, and 237 strikeouts in 263 innings. Yet to pitch above Class A advanced, but he likely would have pitched at Double A if there had been a minor league season last year. And that's pretty much all there is to say on that. So, we'll have to wait and see, but that's a big get for KC. But, we'll wait and see if it leads to anything, if we can get back to his form. And that's pretty much all there is to say. So, not much more. MF, your thoughts on this Ben Attendee 3-team trade?
Yeah, this was it was interesting, but there was some rumors that Ben Attendee was probably going to be the odd man out, that they were going to let him go to Kansas City. That's Kansas City is a rebuilding team, so he's a nice young player, good prospect type guy. We'll see how he becomes the cornerstone of the team. You hope he becomes the cornerstone of the team if you're Kansas City. But Boston got some nice returns with this one as well. Obviously, they're not I don't want to say they're a major threat in the AL East. I think right now they're probably the 4th best team in the AL East. Right now, I'm probably saying it's between Tampa, New York, and Toronto. I think right now they are looking like contenders right now. Boston's on a rebuild. So is the Orioles. So really nothing more to add. So Florio, it's yours.
All right. Got a couple of more baseball stories, and then we'll get into the big news I found from the NBA, because it's worthy of the main event spot. Next up, we're going to get into Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer signing with your reigning World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Last week they finalized their 3-year deal with Trevor Bauer, with the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner guaranteed up to $102 million over the life of the deal. Bauer's contract is structured in such a way that he can opt out of the deal after 2021 or after 2022. $10 million signing bonus in 2021. He's due for $28 million, and then $32 million in both 2022 and 2023. If he opts out after 2021, he gets an extra $2 million. If he opts out after 2022, he gets $15 million. And that effectively makes this potentially either a 1-year $40 million deal or a 2-year $85 million deal. Though with 3 guaranteed seasons, the total contract has a lower annual value, $34 million, for competitive balance tax purposes. A contract with various levers has some caveats. Bauer's $28 million salary for 2021 is all due on November 1, per Ronald Bloom of the AP. And if Bauer opts out after the 2021 season, the Dodgers earn $20 million. And to make room for Bauer, the Dodgers designated Josh Stabors for assignment, and he'll have to be placed on waivers at some point in the next week. So that's the story. Those are the schematics when it comes to this. So, but yes, very, very big deal here, no doubt about that. And for years, Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers have looked for ways to be opportunistic and add elite free agents to shorter-term deals. They made a run at Bryce Harper in 2019 and Garrett Cole before last season, and they were unable to get either one. They remained patient, believing they would find a way to strike in future off seasons, and then their patience paid off in a big way. They won the Trevor Bauer sweepstakes, and That deal pushes the Dodgers' payroll close to $240 million, blowing past the $210 million competitive balance tax threshold, meaning LA would have to pay a 20% tax on all overages. And for the next $20 million, over $230 million, the Dodgers would be taxed 32%. Bauer's market didn't take shape as many expected, but there was always a lot of interest between the two sides, especially if the right-hander was open to a shorter-term deal. The Mets, who were the other finalists for Bauer, reportedly offered him more years in the same opt-out deal, but Bauer ultimately decided to join the Dodgers. The opportunity to win a World Series in his hometown played a big role for Bauer, who went to Hart High School in Santa Clarita and played his college ball at UC. He's coming off his best season in the bigs, posting a 1.73 ERA, striking out 100 batters in 73 innings, and also has plenty of postseason and World Series experience, having made 10 playoff appearances with the Indians and one with the Reds. In the NL Wildcard Series against MF's Braves, Bauer allowed just 2 hits and struck out 12 over 7 2/3 innings. Really gave MF fits. And he's going to look to prove that the 2020 season was not a fluke. Career 3.90 ERA and has pitched at least 200 innings in a season only once in his career. There are questions surrounding Bauer off the field, mostly because of his social media presence. Because 2 years ago, he got into a back and forth with a college student who said she had been harassed by Bauer's fans following the incident. And unclear how much the Dodgers looked into the matter, but a handful of Dodger players have shown their support of the signing. And they should be. I mean, even with some unknowns, the addition of Bauer gives the Dodgers perhaps the best rotation in the majors and makes them the clear favorites to once again win the NL West. He joins Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Julio Urias, and David Price. Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May are also available and could start the season out of the bullpen. And Josiah Gray, ranked by MLB Pipeline as the Dodgers' top prospect, is also. You thought the Dodgers were dangerous before. They're even more so now. So that's all the story here. So MF, Bauer, 3-year, $102 million deal with the LA Dodgers. How about it?
Yeah, Anthony, you have that terminology. The rich get richer. The Dodgers got richer. They got one of the best pitchers in the National League in Trevor Bauer, and now he goes along with Clayton Kershaw. That's a deadly one too, and that whole rotation is deadly. So there's really nothing more to add. This is a dangerous team. They were already dangerous. This makes them almost unstoppable right now. Not only are they the favorites to win the NL West, but they're probably favorites to go back to the World Series again with this team. There's not many holes that they got on this squad now. So no doubt about it. The rich get richer. Nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like you said, I mean, as if the Dodgers needed another big name guy to be part of their team for another run at the World Series. But boy, howdy, they really hit the jackpot with Trevor Bauer and added to the rotation. I mean, when you got Clayton Kershaw on there, and with the way this team is, they can make another run at the World Series and maybe win another title. I mean, that's just how good Trevor Bauer is and what he did during the 2020 season. So we're gonna have to wait and see how he does overall. But right now, I mean, all I can say is I like this move, and yeah. So there's really nothing more to add to it. So Florio, it's yours.
All right. One last Major League Baseball story before the big news story from the NBA. And this is something that I know MF has been chomping at the bits to get into since last night when this was announced by our own Derek Ferreira. The San Diego Padres and Fernando Tatis Jr. agree on a 14-year, $340 million contract extension with the San Diego Padres, securing one of the largest guarantees in American sports history and wedding himself to the team with which he quickly established himself as a star. Sources familiar with the deal told ESPN. At age 22, he will receive the third biggest deal in baseball history and do so at a far younger age than Mike Trout and Mookie Betts, both of whom signed their mega deals at 27. So, all right, MF, I know you've been chomping at the bits for this one. This was something that I know you wanted to get into. And as you said, Fernando Tatis just got paid, man.
Fernando Tatis is without a doubt the most electrifying player in Major League Baseball. What he did last year is worthy of the money he is about to get. But, you know, he becomes the second Padre with over $300 million. Manny Machado's the other guy. This really starts to question, where's the money coming from from San Diego? 324? Now 300 mil? Two guys at 300 mil apiece. How are they going to be able to pay this out? How are they going to elongate the contract? It's 14 years. You'll literally lock this guy up for literally the rest of his playing career. You're just hoping and praying he doesn't get hurt, or that his production does not decline in the 14 years. Like you said, he's 22 years old. That would put him literally at 36 by the time this contract ends. That's unbelievable. He's in his prime right now, and you locked him up. If you're the Padres, you had to do it. That was a smart move by the Padres, because the life of a contract is normally 5, 7, 8 years. To lock him up this quickly and to put him with that much years, that much of an emphasis, that's a credit to Fernando Tatis for his willingness to stay in San Diego. And that's the Padres organization knowing they got a hot commodity, a player that they could work around as the face of the franchise. So this is a franchise-making move. This is almost similar in the NFL, like what they did with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, when they locked him up long-term because they realized he is the face of the franchise. Fernando Tatis Jr. is the face of the franchise for the San Diego Padres. They locked him up. Great move. It's ridiculous. This contract is ridiculous, is all I can say about that. So nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, the Padres got their man, and Fernando Tatis got paid.
Yeah, he definitely got paid big time. And, yeah, this is a move, like you said, the Padres had to make. I mean, they knew they had something good with Fernando Tatis Jr., and we saw a bit of that in the 2020 season. So this basically is going to have him be a Padre for the rest of his playing career. I mean, you just got to hope that injuries don't get to him, or that the numbers don't decline during that 14-year deal, because if any of those things happen, they're going to end up with egg on their face when it comes to this. So yeah, this is a move, like you said, it had to be done. And yeah, I mean two times. I mean, they paid over $300 million for big time players. First it was Manny Machado. Now it's Fernando Tatis Jr. So, and with the moves they made in the offseason, they could basically once again be in contention for the postseason. But let's not forget, this was a 60-game season last year. can they do it again for 162 games? We'll just have to wait and see. So, yeah, so Florio, it is yours on this. I mean, yeah, he really got paid.
I know, man. Whew, what a deal. That's all there is to say. Some of the projections that I've looked into have projected that the San Diego Padres could win 96 games this year, which would be the second most in their franchise history. Their franchise record is 98. In 1998, the year, of course, they went on to the World Series before, of course, getting manhandled by my Yankees that year. Greatest team of all time, but that's another story. But the 6'3", 217-pound Tatis, whose dazzling shortstop play is perhaps exceeded by his prowess at the plate, went to San Diego via trade and is now the player around whom the Padres will build a team equipped to win a championship. Full of substance to back up his style, Tatis blitzed through the minor leagues after the Padres acquired him from the Chicago White Sox in a deal for aging starter James Shields. His talent in spring training was so apparent in 2019 that San Diego started him at shortstop on opening day, eschewing the standard play of sending supreme talents to the minors to manipulate their service time and keep them under team control for an extra year. The mutual admiration between the team and Tatis was clear enough that the Padres hoped it wouldn't be a mistake. And with a deal that will lock him up for nearly a decade and a half through his age 35 season, the Padres convinced Tatis that small market San Diego is where he belongs. Tatis wasn't willing to relinquish control of that. He will receive a full no-trade clause, allowing him veto power over any potential deal. The $340 million marks the largest deal given to a player before he reaches arbitration, nearly $200 million more than Trout's first contract extension. Trout's second extension set a domestic sports record of $426.5 million guaranteed, and Mookie Betts' $392 million deal is now followed by Tatis's deal. Tatis, like MF said, joins Manny Machado, who plays third base next to him, as Padres with $300 million deals, and they join the New York Yankees' Garrett Cole and Giancarlo Stanton as teammates with such gaudy contracts. Both Machado and Tatis are represented by agent Dan Lozano. Machado's agreement with San Diego before the 2019 season was a turning point for the organization, which has positioned itself as the greatest threat to the defending champion LA Dodgers, who happen to play in the Padres division, the NL West. San Diego blossomed during the pandemic-shortened 2020 season with Tatis playing a front and center role after a dynamic rookie season that ended because of injury. Hitting leadoff with his trademark dreadlocked hair flowing out of his batting helmet and a bat flip at the ready, Tatis was the best player in the game for the first half of the season, an unstoppable combination of raw talent, polish, and excitement, the sort that is evident even to the casual fan. His appearances in more commercials for MLB and products he was selling illustrated that Tatis might be different than other would-be stars. The sport starving for someone with wide appeal struck gold with Tatis, who was raised in the Dominican, and he was not a highly touted prospect when he signed with the White Sox as a 16-year-old. The athleticism, the explosiveness, all of the skills he now wields, they were simply tools back then. Maybe they would arrive, maybe they wouldn't. But San Diego saw something different in a player who, in his first year after signing, gained muscles, started looking the part, and after the trade, grew another inch, then another, and by the time Tatis was embarrassing Double-A pitchers, he looked like the part of a future star. And to become that so quickly, not just finishing fourth in the MVP voting in 2020, but compelling a team to guarantee $340 million speaks to the Padres' commitment to him. They could have kept him for 4 more years before he reached free agency. Instead, after he hit 277, 366, and 571 with 17 homers and 45 RBI in 59 games, they gave Tatis more than any free agent ever has received. Talks between the sides picked up early this week, and sources familiar with the discussions expected a deal to get done. But one of this size, one of this magnitude, well, when Tatis does something, he tends to do it big. And he did just that. So that's all there is to say there. But now, gentlemen, I've been teasing it for a while now. This would have been the end of the show, but no, we got one more thing we need to get into. I just found out some news about this year in 2021. It was seriously doubtful that we were going to have this, but we're going to have it after all. Gentlemen, we are going to have an NBA All-Star game in 2021. Yup. And get this, it's going to be played on Sunday night, March the 7th, which happens to be the same night as the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. Oh, you want to talk about a Super Sunday? Oh, there you go. It will be held at the State Farm Arena, formerly the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. And it announced its plans for the All-Star Game today. And as previously reported, the star-studded exhibition will be held on March 7 in Atlanta. And this has been building for weeks and something that originally was not expected to happen at all. The league previously canceled this event, which was supposed to be held in Indianapolis, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the NBA decided before the season started to award Indy with the 2024 All-Star Game and complete this season without the event. However, after several conversations between the league and the NBA Players Association, the two sides came to an agreement to put on an event that will be unlike any All-Star Game before it. Listen to this, gentlemen. Are you ready for this? For the first time in league history, the NBA All-Star Game and each of the other marquee events will be all held on the same day. The skills challenge and the three-point shootout will take place prior to the start of the All-Star Game. And MF, you hinted at this last week. I can now officially confirm the slam dunk contest will take place during halftime. So, and on top of that, the format will again follow last year's game format using the quote-unquote Elam ending, with the two teams competing to win each of the first three quarters, which will be 12 minutes each. And for the fourth quarter, the clock will be turned off and a target score will be set. And whichever team reaches that target score first wins the game. Also similar to last season, the league will honor Kobe Bryant by factoring in 24 into the final target score, per the Athletics' Shams Charania. All-Star starters were announced tonight with LeBron James and Kevin Durant as captains. They'll pick teams in the All-Star draft similar to the past 2 years. And the players in the league will use this All-Star Game as an opportunity to highlight the importance of historically Black colleges and universities, while also addressing the impact of COVID-19 on communities of color across the country. The NBA and NBA $2.5 million to support HBCUs as well as communities impacted by COVID-19. League will try to create a mini bubble around the All-Star Game and will require daily testing of all players, team staff, and anyone else who will be in attendance for the festivities. And to ensure that the event is safe, the league said that no fans will be in attendance for this year's All-Star Game and that there will be no additional events in the surrounding Atlanta area for fans to attend in conjunction with the main event. Each player participating in the All-Star Game or any of the skills challenges will be allowed to bring up to 4 family members, close friends, or their agent, as well as a trainer for the duration of their stay in Atlanta. Whoa. Michael Bullock, how do you follow that? My gosh.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, we thought we weren't going to get an All-Star Game, but I'll tell you, I mean, I'm happy that we're going to have one, but how they're going to do it, I mean, with the way they announced that they're going to be doing it differently, especially with one of my favorite events, the slam dunk contest taking place at halftime. Man, I mean, and then you have all the other competitions going on, like right before the All-Star Game with the 3-point challenge. I mean, my goodness, I mean, like you said, this is going to be an All-Star Game like no other. And while the Players Association and the league came together and agreed on it, there have been some players who were very, very critical of this, and some of them even hated this. I mean, it's almost like they're saying, look, you previously said there was going to be no All-Star Game. Now you say that there is. I think it's just flat out stupid. So I can't remember some of the players that did say it, but you know what? I'm actually happy that we are getting an All-Star Game, and I don't care what the players say, but I'm actually happy we are getting it. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, and I think this is going to be an all-star game. I think we'll all never forget. So there's really nothing more for me to say. Florio, what's yours?
It could definitely give last year a run for its money. That's for damn sure. I mean, after what we all agreed was the greatest all-star game we ever saw last year in Chicago. I mean, man, what a night that was. And this one is definitely going to be unlike any other. I mean, the only downside is, you guys know how much I love NBA All-Star Saturday night, and it's one of the events on the NBA calendar that I look forward to so very, very much. And the fact that we're going to be doing it all in one night, I mean, the Taco Bell Skills Challenge and the legendary 3-point shootout, those are going to take place before the game, and then the dunk contest at halftime. I mean, wow, this has some serious potential. The starters were announced, but I think we should hold off on that until next week because I do believe on the 23rd, which I believe is Tuesday, the overall rosters are going to be announced. So maybe we could save that for next week's show, announcing who the starters are and the reserves. MF is.
I was gonna say we were gonna wait until next week anyway.
Okay.
That will be our main event of the show.
Yep.
Not only that, but we are gonna also next week get into the retirement of Brian Dozier, and for all you hockey fans out there, we're also going to be talking about the outdoor game that is going down in Lake Tahoe this weekend. So.
Oh, yeah.
The Boston Bruins versus the Philadelphia Flyers in Lake Tahoe. So,
there's
another one. Yeah, there's a second game.
Saturday, the Colorado Avalanche against the Vegas Golden Knights. Saturday afternoon at 3. And then Sunday afternoon at 3, the game that we're going to have, MF, the Philadelphia Flyers and the Boston Bruins. Always fun when they get together.
So we're going to recap both of those games. That's going to be part of the show. And, of course, like we said, we just found out that Brian Dozier has retired from Major League Baseball. So, and yes, we will announce next week's All-Star teams. What the pool players is going to be that LeBron James and Kevin Durant will be choosing from.
Okay. And who knows? Maybe we'll find out who the participants will be for the events. Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know, but
yeah.
But all I do know is this. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to it. I mean, it just made Sunday, March the 7th, into a huge night. I mean, the night was already big. The night was already big because because we're going to also have at the same time the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. And I definitely have some plans to tune into that. And but man, that and the All-Star game on the same night, and with everything that's going on, my goodness, I mean, this certainly has potential. I mean, you thought last year's game was a 5-star Shakespearean drama classic. This one, maybe could be that again this year. Maybe even more so. I don't know. We'll see.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I really think that what they should do, and I'm really being honest with you, I really think they should, if they were going to honor Kobe, I would make it 32 points to determine the winner. Combine the number 24 and the number 8, combine it together, and make it 32, and then to honor Gianna, add the number 2. So I would make it 34 points in that fourth quarter to be the target score to determine the winner.
Okay. But that's I'm just going off what I have. So there you go. That's the big story. We will have an NBA All-Star game, and it's going to be in Atlanta, and I can't wait for all the festivities. So not much more to say. I'm very excited about it. So MF, take this thing home, and what else is there to say? I mean, the NBA All-Star Game and AEW Revolution pay-per-view on the same night. Wow.
But the thing is that when it comes to the NBA All-Star Game, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great event. I love it. I feel it. I think that it's going to be remarkable. At the end of the day, Michael Bullock was right. There are some players that are very tentative about doing this event. And, with COVID-19, with the COVID concerns, with everything else, they're afraid of a super spreader event, which is understandable. That is something that I think everybody would be concerned about. But Adam Silver has said, look, we did a bubble. We've done all these games up to this point, and we've done very well. He believes that they can do this in a controlled environment. And I think that's why he wants to do this All-Star Game. And this is kind of a thank you to the fans for being so loyal, for being patient. Yes, has it been perfect? Absolutely not. But we will have to see how this plays out, and there's really nothing more to add here. So, yeah, this is going to be a great All-Star Game. I can't wait to see it. And like you said, the players in the pool will be released next week, and we will go from there. And we'll see how it plays out. So it's going to be a very interesting All-Star weekend or All-Star day, because everything's going to be on one spot. So you got the skills challenge, which is normally point guards versus forwards. The 3-point competition, we already know that. And then to harken back to the days of the ABA, during their All-Star Game, the slam dunk contest at halftime. That's insane. I'm so excited with that, because it is like the tradition of the ABA. Everybody remembers Dr. J's dunk from the free throw line that won him the competition when they did it in Denver, Colorado. That's what you're going to get with this one. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a great night. Man, All-Star in Atlanta is going to be exciting. And like you said, with that EFIS score points and everything else, dude, you remember us three talking about the game, watching it live last year from Chicago, and how we were absolutely going crazy with the fourth quarter. Man, what is it going to be like if they try to do that again, replicate that? Hoo-wee! Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's going to be a great night. No doubt about it. It's yours.
Oh, absolutely. But we got something big possibly on the pipeline here. When it comes to our Selection Sunday special. Now, this depends on MF's work commitments. We are working on doing something unprecedented and something we've never done before when it comes to the Selection Sunday special. If we can pull it off, and it would be something if we can. We are talking about possibly, if all goes well, doing our Selection Sunday special as the brackets are being announced on CBS. How awesome would that be if we can pull that off? But we'll as soon as we get any details about it, we'll let you know. Hopefully we can do it. If not, then we'll just do it like we've always done it. So that's that. Tomorrow night, Cerebral Smack Talk, big show, guys. Friday night Smackdown. Listen to the 6-man tag team matchup. I mean, you're going to have the 6 participants in the Smackdown Elimination Chamber match. How's this for a dream team? Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, and Kevin Owens squaring off against Jey Uso, King Corbin, and Sami Zayn. 6-man tag team match tomorrow night on Friday Night Smackdown. And then in addition to our Smackdown review, we are going to preview the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. And we might have some new breaking news about that. We don't know, because I know some things are up in the air right now. But, hopefully we'll have some news about that. We'll see. So that'll be tomorrow. And then Sunday, of course, the recap. MF will have that. We'll have that following the pay-per-view. And then Ridiculously Raw on Monday, Mayhem on Wednesday. This program next week, like MF said, Brian Dozier's retirement, the recap of the NHL outdoor games, and in the main event, it would be the announcement of the NBA All-Star starters and reserves. And if anything else comes across the pipeline, we'll definitely bring that to you as well. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, Anthony Floyer here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, Edie Woodson, Derek Ferreira. And with that, I'm Anthony Floyer. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, as we always say, for everybody who's been a part of this one, bye for now, friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching Strictly Sports right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For now, Anthony Floyer, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.